everyone. My name is Nonito Donaire. As Mauricio mentioned, I am the first fighter to enroll in 365 VADA testing. I truly believe in clean sport. I truly believe in fairness, and I truly believe in the capability that we as human beings have within us. To me, it was a big privilege, and I wanted to show the world that a fighter like myself can become something, a champion, without anything. And I wanted to show that because I do love boxing with all my heart. It's given me everything that I can, and I wanted to be an ambassador to the people to the fighters and the kids, that they can do it themselves. And I know dealing with a lot of this stuff, it's drugs and enhancing the physical body, perhaps up to 25%. It's a big deal. Fighters go through it. We go through in that ring with our lives. And that's the main important for me, is because our lives are precious. We are precious. And because of this, I fight, because I believe that anyone with strength, with themselves, that when they do it, they can feel that pride and honor of doing it for themselves. Right, Rocky?
No, absolutely, Nonito. Again, my name is Rocky Herron. I spent 31 years as a DEA agent investigating drug trafficking around the world. I am absolutely not an expert on doping in sports, but I am an expert on how we're failing to properly educate our kids. My mission now is to do as much of that as I can. I met Mauricio 3 years ago. I'm not from the boxing world, and I did some research on the WBC, and I'm very proud to be working with the WBC and the clean boxing program and the education efforts they're supporting around the world. And I'm going to encourage all of you to think about the young people in your world, the young boxers, your family members, and use the resources that we're developing to begin to educate them from a very young age that chemicals cause damage. The recreational drugs cause damage, and certainly the doping drugs cause tremendous damage. And the VADA program and the clean boxing program are excellent tools to do what they can to push doping out of boxing. But where we still need to do a lot more work is creating a culture in our young kids so that they themselves will reject the temptation to dope for some short-term advantage.
And I'm so grateful to be here in that moment, because I'm here with the WBC, who is the pioneer of safe boxing and mainly protecting the fighters. You know, as you know me as a fighter, I have truly great respect for each individual, because we know what we go through in training and inside that ring. Our family, sometimes we never may get out of that ring. But this is why I'm so blessed to be here to represent and to present that the WBC, the pioneer of clean sport, and the pioneer of keeping the fighters safe. And to me, that is our blessing, and that is something that I will always fight for.
No, and we have to consider also, the WBC doesn't just have a responsibility to its champions. WBC has a responsibility to all the boxers, the young kids, the adults who train and who never make it to the competitive level. So again, education is the one tool that we as a society, global society, are not properly utilizing to try to change the culture. And I know many people in society believe that we can't change the culture of our kids. But the WBC organized conferences for me yesterday in a university here in Acapulco, and those students listened intently for 90 minutes and cheered at the end, when we share a message of hope and taking personal responsibility and the beauty of living a clean life.
And with the guidance from the WBC, it all comes from the foundation. How we create ourselves as human beings is how we live, our personality is developed through our youth. And because we take care of the youth, that I believe that we can create better human beings, better fighters, and people who believe in themselves.
Rocky and Nonito, I would like to start one question, and anyone is welcome this is the importance to have our leaders that can respond. I would like to ask each one question. Nonito, as a fighter, what do you tell young kids who are in the gym to protect from influence of someone that can come and offer them a supplement, a vitamin, a pill that is going to make them stronger, make them feel better, recuperate from the stress of the workout? How do you differentiate a good supplement, a good nutrition from someone that is the evil going into the gymnasium? Because that's a reality. There are people going into the fighters' camps doing illegal procedures. How do you prevent that from happening?
Well, this is what I do, and I do a lot of my own research, and some people don't have that understanding of doing their own research. And for me, I'm all very hands-on with my bags, with everything else. So there is nothing in my bag that will, I know what I'm taking, and because it's in my hand. And the kids, if this is what I've always told them, if someone's giving you something, it's appropriate to ask what it is, because it's your body. They can say, oh, this is this and this and that. Is this guy someone you can trust? Is this guy someone that you are inspired, or is this guy just came in and he has a reputation? That's something that they have to understand, that you have to have clarity. You can't just take anything from walking in the street and somebody is giving you something, or you go in the gym and someone gives you something and you already know he has a reputation of something. You have to have a clarity, you have to verify, because this is your body. This is your legacy as a fighter.
Have you ever been offered without you knowing, or have you gone to General Nutrition Center asking for a supplement? Do you check what is the content of those products?
Yes, so I go to supplement stores and I have to verify what it is. What's the ingredients, and some people don't check that. But for me, as you know, my wife is a very powerful woman. She has to know exactly what it is there. There's never any offers, because she was my shield when it comes down to it. So no one really comes to my camp and offer me anything, because that's just how we work. We're very, very close, but some people don't have that. And that's why I tell them, verify, know what you're taking, research what you're taking, because it's important to know. Knowledge is great, but when you have that wisdom with the knowledge that you can use appropriately, then you will be protecting yourself.
When you were young, did you question your trainer or your family member, your friend?
For me, when I was young, this is how I got into boxing. My dad wanted me to get out of the streets, because in where I grew up, there was a lot of drugs. My area was known for drugs. And so I got into the boxing because my father wanted me to be out of the street. And there was really nothing to offer, because my dad was very strict, and there was no one that would go around our circle.
Nonito, what advice would you give the boxers, especially younger ones starting up, that get offered things that don't have the resources to check what they're taking? What would be your advice to them?
And again, it's, the thing with the kids is they're very easy to sway, and that's why for us here, we try to guide them. One thing that I do know is when kids starts to ask questions is when their power comes to them, because they will know for themselves that not everyone is there for them, and for them, I always wanted to tell them that their power comes from within. Their power is what they are, that they believe they are. Like they say, you are only as good as your mind can be. And so when they start asking those questions from people that are giving them something, for me, I've always told them that you are more powerful than what you think you are. but you have to believe in it. And the moment that they start believing in themselves is when no one can penetrate their mindset, and whatever it may be, they cannot be swayed to take drugs.
Rocky, what would you tell those who are sitting here today about the current situation of recreational drugs, street drugs in the world?
I'm calling it a perfect storm. We have a situation of drug abuse in the world that's very different than it's ever been. The main drugs of abuse now are synthetic, fentanyl, methamphetamine, and these are drugs that have no limit in production. Cocaine and heroin come from the poppy and from the coca bush. But these new synthetic drugs are being produced in industrial quantities. The price is plummeted. They're more available and less expensive than they've ever been, and yet our global culture hasn't changed. The movies, the TV shows, the TikTok videos, the celebrities are telling our kids that drug abuse is fantastic, and it's a normal part of being a teenager, and that there's no really bad consequences. And so I remain baffled and shocked at how our global society is not reacting to this new threat. And I believe information is the most powerful tool that we have. And messages like Donito's are very impactful on the kids. And many people disagree with me, but I absolutely believe that if we give kids the proper information from a very young age, we will change their perceptions of the harm of substance abuse. And that will change the behavior of many. There are always going to be people who want to abuse recreational drugs. Unfortunately, there will always be individual athletes who attempt to cheat the system by using doping. But if we can change the total culture, I believe we can reduce the numbers that are being abused, and we're not trying hard enough.
My son Mauricio is here. Have you ever been... Mauricio. No, wait. Have you ever been offered marijuana, pills, cocaine by your friends?
Lots of friends. Many people don't know, but marijuana is becoming very popular in Mexico. I've been in 2 schools, and in both schools, people from high school, it's very popular in 2 schools. So it's not a problem from one place. It's becoming, because it's becoming very normal, and they don't see it as something weird. They think it's the same as having a cigar, and that's what people, the society has taught them.
Are there any questions, anyone who wishes to ask Rocky or Nonito? James, please use the microphone right here.
It's a question both for Nonito and Rocky and the WBC as well. If a young person, very young person who's in boxing, for instance, but it doesn't have to be boxing, 17, 18 years old, has been given a supplement by their trainer, and they think there's something wrong with this, I'm sure there's something in my system now which shouldn't be there, should they actually consult with the authorities like VADA and say, I think I've taken something that's wrong, I need to be tested, rather than waiting until there is, if they're in boxing career, for instance, rather than waiting until the effects of it hit them, or there's a random test. Quite often, obviously, a boxer is tested positive, and they say, I didn't realize, I didn't know this was the case, but wouldn't it be better for them to actually come clean if they suspect something early and say this, rather than be caught or suffer the effects of the drug? Thanks.
Yeah, James, that's a great question. I actually love that idea. I see no downside to that. If someone's worried, if some athlete's worried there's been a mistake, it seems like it would be a wonderful tool to give them a chance to express their concern and to get it resolved in a way that's clearly not being intended to game the system, not just before a fight, something like that. But I'm working with WBC University on some education programs, and hopefully we can develop programs designed for even very young kids that teach them the risk of taking unknown supplements and to encourage them never to consume a substance without educating themselves, as Nonito said. But I really like your idea.
And as a fighter as well, when someone is taking something or giving something, it's coming from you. It's either sometimes they'll pop on something. Sometimes a fighter do it voluntarily, pretending that they don't know, and when they get caught and popped with it, they pretend that they don't know what they were taking, and we've seen that at times, with some fighters. But I think ultimately, again, as a fighter, you have to know what you're taking. And if you don't know and you trust the person, there's a different feeling. I mean, I've never done it in my life, but I'm pretty sure that there is that feeling that is just different from other normal things that they would take. At least that's my presumption, my assumption. But I truly believe that when the fighter is clean and fair, you have to really truly have that understanding and that knowledge to think twice before taking something.
Pepe,
Hi. Juan Morito just became an advocate for for the green stuff. No, there's been marijuana as a recreational drug, and there's been cases with several boxers. Marijuana is not like a strength enhancement or, yeah, but it's something that rather than putting you up, it brings you down, it brings you down. But you don't need to, as a fighter, what are the risks? Because they think marijuana is like the less dangerous, so to speak, drug. And they take it lightly. They take it almost as alcohol, for example, so to speak. But how bad really marijuana is for a fighter?
Well, I believe that anything you take in that is not part of your body, and has an effect, will be damaging in ways. I mean, I know that there's some research out there, but as well for me, I have asthma, and I was growing up with asthma, so I cannot be around a lot of smoke, and I know that it affects a lot of that stuff. And you see a lot of guys out here who has asthma as well, or fighters, but when it comes down to fighting, when you're teaching your body to slow down. So when you go inside the ring, when you fight, everything starts to slow down. You're not going to be up to par to what you're capable of because you're training your body, your muscle to slow everything down. When in the fight, it has to be burst, it has to be explosive, and everything has to be fast because that's a survival mechanism. But if you're teaching your body to just relax and survival mechanism doesn't kick in, that's when it becomes dangerous for a fighter.
Rocky, is there anything you'd like to add as a closing statement?
No, I think it's, to the last question from Pepe, I think it's important for the WBC to hold a very high standard. And I think that that's difficult in our modern society, but if young athletes want to be part of the WBC and they want to be competitive and push their careers, I think it's important to maintain very strict standards, even on some recreational drugs that arguably don't improve in performance. But I think if we make the lines blurry, if we don't draw that bright distinction that you have to stay clean if you want to be part of our programs, it opens the door to then people encouraging the kids to use other drugs that maybe they, might provide performance enhancement. Thank you.
Oh, this is tall. Sorry. Good morning. One of the things that I know Nonito was asked, and sometimes he has absolutely no idea what I do. So when I know there was a question about not having the available research with supplements and what you can take. And I believe the VADA program is very, very easy, where you could email them, show them a picture of what you are purchasing to make sure that you are adhering, because we all know that some of the supplements, the things that are in the ingredients, we can't even pronounce half the time. So we want to make sure by just emailing them, getting that clarity in doing so. But one of the things of what I love about the WBC is that they're having this stance, this hard stance, and I did see a lot of the managers and promoters at the ratings meeting yesterday, and I want to keep that responsibility that when you're asking the WBC to rank your fighters in the top 10, that you need to enroll and you need to keep all your paperwork up to date so these boxers in the top 10 are always safe and they're adhering to the program of the ratings of where you want your fighter to be ranked. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you so very much, Rocky, Nonito. You are a great pride to the WBC. Thank you for all that you do.